This recording's about the lesson that deals with piecewise functions. So piecewise function is where the entire graph, when we look at it, doesn't follow one particular equation. It might follow multiple equations. So we want to break it up into kind of like chunks and say, oh, well, this part follows this equation, but from here to here it follows this other equation. Those are called piecewise functions. So let's look at some examples of what that looks like. So notice the criteria. It's going to look like y equals negative x if x is greater than negative 3. So all numbers greater than negative 3 are going to follow that negative x. Whereas if we're less than or equal to negative 3, it's going to look like y equals x plus 6. So looking at an xy chart, we can still fill this out, but we have to follow which one to plug these numbers into. So for example, if I want to pick 0, 1, negative 1, negative 2 numbers, I'm going to plug them into the top one. So 0, I plug that in, negative 0 is just 0. If I plug in 1, I get negative 1. If I plug in negative 1, I get positive 1. If I plug in negative 2, I get positive 2. I also want to plug in negative 3 even though it's not equal to, and that's so I know what it looks like as it goes up to negative 3. And we would get 3 if I plug that in. Now looking at another XY chart, only this time we want to pick numbers that are negative 3 or smaller and plug them in to this one. So if I plug in negative 3 plus 6 gives me a positive 3. If I plug in negative 4 plus 6 is 2. Negative 5 plus 6 is 1. So now I want to plot these on the same graph. Okay, so on the first one we have the points 0, 0, negative 1, 1, negative 2, 2, negative 3, 3, and that's an open circle. 1, negative 1. So this one looks like this. And now we plot the other ones. So then we have negative 3, 3, just here. That's a closed circle because of the equal sign. Negative 4, 2. Negative 5, 1. And so this would be a piecewise function. It follows the red one if it is any numbers that go up to negative 3 and or as low as negative 3 and then to infinity. And then it follows the blue line if it's negative 3 or smaller. Another example. So same thing, we want to graph these. Again, we can do an XY chart, or you can use like slope-intercept form, any of those. Alright, so the top one, it's going to follow this top one if we pick numbers that are less than 4. So 4, 3, 2, 1. So let's plug those in. If I plug in 4, I get negative 4 plus 8 would give me positive 4. Negative 3 plus 8 would give me 5. Negative 2 plus 8 would give me 6. Negative 1 plus 8 would give me 7. Now if we pick numbers that are 4 or bigger, going to follow this one. So 4, 5, 6, 7, and it's just x. So we get 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we want to plot those on the same graph. So 4, 4 is here, and that's our starting point because 4 was not included on the top one. 3, 5, 2, 6, and so on. So that's what that one looks like. And then the next one, we start out with 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, so on. So that's what this one looks like. So that would be the graph of this piecewise function. Now there is something that is called a step function, and what that means, or what that looks like rather, is where each number is a different increment. So it looks like we made a bunch of steps, and that's what that looks like. So each increment is the same. It's going to go up that many and move over that many for the most part. So they might ask you some questions and say, you know, what would represent this graph? And so what we would see is that, you know, from, they might not give you the whole graph, but if we just look at a piece of it, they might say, well, it looks like y equals 2 if x is between 0 and up to 1. And y equals 3 if x is between 1 and 2. And y equals 4 if x is between 2 and up to 3. So you just have to sure that the solid circle means that it has the equal sign with it, and the open circle means that it goes up to that number but does not include that number. There are some places that we would see a step function. A lot of these are like parking garages and things like that. So I'm just going to read this scenario. The hourly wage increase each employee receives each year depends on the number of years of service. Every 3 years of service means an increase of 50 cents per hour. So employees that have been with the company for at least 3 years but less than 6 can expect an increase of $1 per hour. Employees that have been with the company for at least 6 years but less than 9 receive an increase of $1.5 per year. And employees of at least 9 years but less than 12 receive an increase of $2 per hour. And it says find the function for this scenario. So we know that person's going to get 50 cents increase if they have worked less than 3 years. So we can't work negative years, so 0 up to 3. So not including 3 years, up to 3. That's why it says less than. Then we know that the person will get $1 if they have worked 3 years, but up to 6 years, not including 6 years. The employee will get $1.50 extra increase in pay if they have worked 6 years up to 9 years, but not including 9 years, and they will get $2 increase if they have worked 9 years up to but not including 12. So in the wording when it says less than, we need to use just that sign, no equal sign. So that's the end of this recording. Now you need to call, text, or Skype message me so I can ask you a couple questions about it, and you can get credit for that assignment. Have a great day.